Most of us already know that Cyberpunk 2077 has gone gold. In case you don't know, that means the game is complete and ready for release, so no more delays and no more changes. But where does that leave us in terms of a third-person camera? I was rewatching the first gameplay trailer and then I randomly got this idea in my head that the third-person camera could actually be an unlock later in the game. Now you might instantly be asking yourself, why would a major mechanic like this be something unlockable? To answer that, I looked to another game for the answer. The game I came to was Dragon's Dogma. If you or anyone you know has played that game, then you know just how notorious the game was for making you run everywhere. There were no mounts, nor was there fast travel. Well, at least that's what everyone thought. You were actually able to unlock a fast travel item later in the game which you could move around. I think. It's been a while since I played. But the point is that fast traveling is a pretty big component in my opinion, and it was something you had to unlock. So how does this relate to Cyberpunk? Anytime CD Projekt Red has been asked about a third-person mechanic, their immediate response explained that they didn't want to break immersion. They emphasized that throughout the game, the first-person camera mechanic was vital. For example, you'd unlock certain dialogue options depending on where you were looking at. Now, that's one simple example, but there are many reasons why the first-person mechanic is being used. With level design, using a third-person camera requires you to take into account the clutter a room has, the size of hallways, and many other factors that could potentially disrupt gameplay. So if the point was to not break immersion, how would they include a third-person camera? After taking a closer look at the first trailer, if you remember, you go into the Ripper dock to enhance your vision, which gives you access to your HUD elements. If you ask me, your UI is a very essential mechanic to the game. It displays your health, ammo, and location on a map. Later on in the same video, you're trying to buy the spider bot, and the dealer is explaining how you can control where it goes, who it targets, and then it goes invisible with a cloaking device. This immediately made my mind jump to Metal Gear Solid 4 with Otacon's Metal Gear Mark II. It follows Snake around to provide some assistance and remains invisible with a similar cloaking mechanic. But again, how does this relate to a third-person camera? So I have a theory, which is probably not going to be a reality, but would be very cool. But my theory is, what if you can unlock a drone down the line that allows you to access its camera through an upgrade through the Ripper dock? Now I had to ask myself, but how would you avoid breaking immersion? Well, this technology, even for the year 2077 or any timeline for that matter, sounds insanely complex and could easily be a prototype which can be disrupted by jammers. What am I getting at? If the developers wanted you to experience areas only in first person, they could simply restrict you and force you back into first person, but that would totally break immersion as you'd basically think to yourself, okay, I'm switching back to first person automatically only because the devs want me to. Versus, if you have jammers that keep you from using a third-person drone, that is super believable as the drone would be a prototype, thus something easily that enemies could prevent you from using. Like, let's be honest, having a third-person camera helps tremendously in stealth games. You're able to predict enemy movement for takedowns and imagining your enemy's lines of sight. So again, that's my working theory of a possible third-person camera element being included in the game. And if it's true, I get to say I called it first. And on top of that, massive points to CD Projekt Red for keeping a lid on it and essentially trolling everyone who got hurt feelings by a mechanic being left out. Like, there were people blatantly saying the lack of a third-person camera would keep them from buying the game. Now, I'm on the same boat. I prefer third-person way more than I do first-person. If you ask me, pushing up against walls and having animations where I peek around the corner feels much more immersive than just having my screen blocked by a wall. But regardless, I'm so pumped for this game, and the first-person mechanic isn't turning me from the game one bit. So thank you for checking out my video and listening to my crazy theory. I'd love to know what you all think. Is this something that could be possible? Let me know down below. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Later.